Okay, good morning everyone to the webinar on excellent spend data empowering the quality of Scope 3 analysis. One of the most challenging topics we have at the moment in the area of procurement and supply chain. Today, we really would like to share with you a use case around this topic with Jürgen Greil from Heraeus, who will introduce himself in a second to really share with you the most, let's say, up-to-date use case in this area. We have structured the webinar that we're starting a bit of an introduction to give you an understanding of who we are and why we're talking together. Then really have a bit of an insight on Heraeus and Creactives. And then really spending the key time of the webinar on the journey that Heraeus went through to achieve a Scope 3 measurement. And then also looking a bit into what did make it successful and why are Heraeus and Creactives working together. And it also should give you enough time at the end for any further questions that you may have. Anyway, if you have questions in between, just use the message box on your top right-hand side in the chat and drop us a message, so we will try to answer or involve that topic wherever it's appropriate, or come back to it at a later stage. So looking into it and starting into the content, let me hand over to Dr. Jürgen Greil, who is in charge of this topic from the data topic from Heraeus side. So Jürgen, maybe you can give us a bit of an insight about you and also about Heraeus. Why is it a hidden champion, and why did you choose that journey?
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe you can go to the next slides, where we just want to introduce a little bit the Heraeus Group. I myself, I joined Heraeus in 2015, and now it's more than 10 years of a journey. Because in 2015 we also contacted Creactives as one of my first projects for Heraeus to improve the spend visibility of the Heraeus Group. Just some key numbers about Heraeus. We have a turnover of 25.6 billion euros in 2023, whereas the most of this 25.6 billion is precious metal trading, and 8 billion of it is product related. The company is family owned, and still Jürgen Heraeus is in the cantina almost every day, and you can talk to him. He's over 80 years old, but there's a strong family sense within the company. Nevertheless, it's a big company. We have more than 60,000 employees all over the world, and 30% of our turnover is coming from Americas, 30% from Asia, and 30% from Germany. We are located in Germany, close to Frankfurt. And if you can go to the next slide, please. 40% of the most we are located in 40 different countries, and it's a big box of what we produce. It's not only precious metal. It's also, we are in the medical area. We have implants and catheters, for example. We have bone cement. We have also silver paste for the solar cells, for example. We are in the metal ceramic substrate, so this is an electronic business. And we are also very active in recycling, not only precious metal recycling, but also other recycling areas we bought a company in India which does PET recycling, and then we rolled it out to the US and to Europe. So it's a huge amount of different products that we have, and that's the challenge for a procurement department, because we are not concentrating only on metals, but we are also have other areas, especially for the electronics, for example, where we have automotive industry as a customer. So it's pretty difficult for a procurement department to cover all the requirements from all the different industry sectors. But Stefan, can you tell us a little bit about Creatives? So what's Creatives acting?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jürgen, for the insight and the explanation. And I think you underlined one of the topics that we are strong with is about managing complexity and diversity in the area of procurement and spend. So the Creatives backbone is about 20 years in the market for data and technology solutions within procurement and supply chain. You see a bit of the journey on the slide. We are stock listed, and we also have a platform that we're using in collaboration with our partners. And what you see or what you can recognize when you go through the logos, they are all complex and let's say diversified companies and organizations with a huge amount of data, and this is where we are play on our strengths with our own AI solution that is able or capable to read, identify messages, text, free text, structured text, unstructured text, across languages, across almost every business relevant language, and also utilizing our over the years built knowledge base of more than about 75 million spent or 25 million master data on a yearly basis. The other, let's say, value that we bring to our customers is a guaranteed accuracy. So what we do is if we run a project with our customers, we train our AI until we achieve a 95% accuracy on their data set, whatever is in scope. And that is being proved by both parties, which means customer and us, and only if both are signing up for it, then we move to let's say to a full SaaS or to a full implementation. When we're talking about Creatives and our solutions, there are three main topics. I'm starting from the right-hand side, which is Matcher and Prompt, which is a guided procurement solution that helps users or that helps requisitors to really identify the right material that is already existing, to compare existing materials across different systems, and also prompt them to the right category if the system, or if the material is not available. So this is mostly in the ERP environment, an add-on that can be implemented easily. The second part, which is the one in the middle, which is our TAM, which is the Material Master Data Governance solution. This solution really focuses on material master and generates smart creation solutions that are AI empowered, helping users to manage, identify, create materials in an AI supported way. And also duplicate detection across languages, across systems, across organizations to ensure maximum value or maximum potential benefits being identified. And I would like to underline the one in the bottom, which is Golden Record Management. The system and the solution also allows to manage a golden record, which means a virtual or real material across several systems, and harmonize data across systems through this golden record approach. On the left-hand side, and now we're coming to what Jürgen mentioned in the collaboration with Heraeus, is the spend analysis tool, which is based on two modules, which is the categorizer, which is the data cleansing engine to identify free text orders, maverick buying, or even purchase orders in a structured way, to really categorize them in the right way, enrich them, add attributes, identify original producers. And TSV Analytics, which is the analytic tool like a BI that allows to analyze the results through a front-end solution. This is very, let's say, matured in the way of category management analysis, and that is where our journey started with Heraeus. And then I think really the question is, why do Heraeus and Creatives work together? And before handing back to Jürgen, what he already mentioned, there's a bit of a longer journey between Heraeus and Creatives. And the original basis was a spend data cleansing activity, really basic data cleansing activity, and has been moved from visualization, so visualize the spend, to really a strategic analytic tool that helps Heraeus in different areas to utilize procurement or spend data in the right way. You see the journey on the picture, but I would like to underline two main things. Heraeus was often or usually one of the early adopter, if not a pilot. So Jürgen's input on the development is quite significant. And also the fact that on the ESG Scope 3 extension, I think the drive to do that together with Carbme is something that we built into a product that I would like to share with you later on. And we're also looking into further improvements or further developments together with Heraeus, or implementing our solutions in different areas. So long journey with a strong input from Heraeus in certain areas in the spend arena, which then begs the question: how did you do the journey, Jürgen? How did it work out to get to Scope 3, and why did you use the data from Creatives?
Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I think the journey is a very nice expression to what happened. Heraeus started an SAP consolidation project in 2014. And in 2015, there was the first rollout to Singapore with a new SAP system. And where we started from was a decentralized procurement organization that was spread over 9 different SAP systems and 2 non-SAP systems. And you can imagine every SAP system has its own master data, its own category structure, material groups. And the challenge was to bring all the data from the different ERP systems together in one system. And then we choose Creatives because synchronizing all SAP systems is no way. So we decided to upload all the data to Creatives and to have a global spend transparency. And as a big benefit, we used Creatives to find a common material group structure for the Heraeus group, while we were still distributed over 9 different ERP systems. And what we did is we focused on a story where we could present to the Chief Procurement Officer the spend of the whole Heraeus group within 3 months, uploading the data, mapping it to a commodity structure which we agreed on together with Creatives, and then showing in which category professional services, repair, maintenance, but also in precious metal, in acids, so in chemicals, we could very quickly present the first results and also the spend over the whole group, which was not always available at that time. So we focused in the first moment on the category-based spend reporting. And what we did now over the years, so from 2016 to 2020, we always improved the AI, the logic on how we map data to our category. What we also used, and if someone is using SAP as an ERP system, when you try to migrate a company from an existing SAP system into a central SAP system, you always need to map the master data. You need to find out, does the supplier in the old system already exist in the central system? Does the material exist? So do we need to just map it to an existing material master? And we also need to map the purchase orders from the old system to the categories from the new SAP system where they should run their business from next month on. So what we used Creatives for is to migrate all the companies into the new central ERP system. And also if we have mergers and acquisitions, so we bought new companies and then we uploaded the data to the TSV and instantly got an idea of are those suppliers which we already have, do they have better prices or worse prices? So all the information that we get in one shot for a new company were available in Creatives. And we divided it into an invoice reporting and a purchase order reporting. Invoice reporting, we tried to find the common the spend of a supplier over the whole Heraeus group, and in the purchase order, we concentrated on a Maverick analysis. So where do we have purchase orders, invoices without a relation to a purchase order, determine the category structure for Heraeus, and also focus on the consolidation and create contracts for the global suppliers for Heraeus. And then 4 years of improving. We had, for example, we had a quick win. A guy from the tax department approached me in 2020, beginning of 2020, and he asked me, when the Brexit comes, what will be the increase in tax payments that we expect? Because we have companies, Heraeus companies in Great Britain, which have suppliers in Europe, and we have companies in Europe which have suppliers from Great Britain. So, and then within 20 minutes, we could give him an estimate on what's the material flow from Europe to Great Britain and back. And then we could estimate what is the tax increase that's associated with the Brexit. So, and this within 20 minutes, that was something where they instantly recognized, hey, wow, Creatives is really a valuable tool just to get an idea of the spend. So that was what happened until 2020. And then in 2021, my colleagues, which need to do the carbon footprint reporting, approached us and said, we are using Creatives to do scope 1 and 2. So how much energy do we buy, how much energy do we consume, and so on. But we have a challenge to report scope 3. So can you go to the next slide, please?
Sure.
And please keep in mind, we introduced Creatives, next slide, please, to be able to do procurement-related reporting. So what's important for a procurement team? We need to know the turnover with a supplier because we want to negotiate with the supplier. We need to know how much is spent in professional services, for example, because we would like to get a strategy on how to to buy professional services? Should we have single source? Should we have multiple sources? So this is what it was, a completely procurement view which we had on the spent data. And then now we need to support our colleagues to do carbon footprint reporting. And there comes an additional layer of complexity, because they are not only interested in what's the spend with the supplier, they also need to know what exactly are the purchased goods and services, and is there a share of transportation and distribution associated with the invoice. So we try to help them to get away from the spend-based carbon footprint reporting, which can be done with a tool like Axiobase. We would like to go over to an activity-based reporting using material numbers, using units of measures and quantities. And then we can use EcoInvent to do a much more detailed and better and more accurate Scope 3 reporting than only the spend-based one. Can you go to the next slide, please? So next slide, yeah, okay. So what we did now is we did an analysis on what's the information that's available in SAP and how can we improve the reporting just to have a consolidated view on the carbon footprint for the Heraeus Group. And it's not only Germany. Some of them think, some guys think, yeah, it's something that's only available for, only necessary for Europe or for Germany. No, it's a worldwide thing, because we buy precious metal from South Africa, we transport it to Singapore, we manufacture it in Germany, and then we send it over to the US. And the carbon footprint of this whole production process needs to be covered by the reporting that we do with CarbMe. So then we got into a discussion and said, for procurement department, it's enough if we know the spend with a supplier, like a chemical factory. We know it's $1 million. But the CarbMe tool needs to know, okay, what exactly are the materials that we buy from the supplier? What's the amount, and what's the weight of the material, for example? So we need to calculate much more efficient emission factor sources to be able to do a proper reporting. Next slide, please. What we did is we decided not to read everything out of the ERP systems, because we still have 3 SAP systems as backbones. But we said, okay, we want to use the already existing data collection from our ERP systems, the mapping to a standardized material group in Creatives to be able to do standardized reporting and feed it into CarbMe. And now the benefit is that we trained the system for more than 6 years to do an exact mapping of the spend of a Heraeus Group to our category. So what was missing now is, next slide, please. What was missing now is, and that's the example that I would like to show you. In former times, we used the red circles in the red circle. So we had a supplier, we had a purchase order document or an invoice, and the amount was 163,000 euros. That was enough for a spend analysis. But we then added a new row type into Creatives. Beside invoices and purchase order, we introduced a new row type called CarbMe. And the carbon footprint row type is then giving the detailed information what's behind an invoice. And for those of you who are using SAP, one invoice is consisting of hundreds of lines sometimes, with different materials, with different amounts and units of measure. And this detailed information is then stored into the CarbMe row type and can be used to do a proper reporting, which is necessary for the CarbMe tool to give us our carbon footprint. And because we had this large and huge experience over the years with Creactive, and Creactives knew how we run our businesses, what are the challenges that make a Heraeus Group very specific, distribution over 40 countries, different languages in the material masters, it was pretty easy to transport the idea of having the CarbMe row type as a new level of reporting into our TSV system, and then have a central way on how to get data out of our SAP system, map it to our category, and then hand it over to CarbMe. And this is not a thing which is taking us weeks, but it's something that can be done within 2 hours. So, and then I would like to hand back to Stefan with my question. What's the Creactives roadmap, and how can you support Heraeus and other companies to do a proper carbon footprint reporting?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jürgen, for the explanation and also the question. Let me just underline two things that you mentioned. The first one is really mapping. When we're talking about mapping, we don't mean an Excel file that maps A to B, as you rightly shared. It is an AI or technology-driven linking of information following specific or following text or following information that been technically processed. And the second thing that I really believe this underlines is the quality of a result or the quality of the outcome is not necessarily the size or the type of information that you show. It is the quality of data that you put in. If the data are not good, and if the data are not sufficient, then it really does not deliver the result that you're looking for. It delivers some results, but you can't really go for it. Before I answer your question, Jürgen, maybe you underline your experience on scope 1 and 3.
Yes.
That really, I like that slide.
Yeah. Okay, but Stefan, it was a challenge, because if you try to report carbon footprint, you need to always compare it to a year, and we have the year 2020. So and the challenge is, between 2020 and today, our company was restructured several times, and only with Creactives we were able to say, okay, in 2020 this was the structure of Heraeus, and this is mapped now to the new structure which we have in 2025. So the history of Heraeus in the Creactive system is extremely helpful to do a proper reporting of carbon footprint compared to 2020 for 2024, for example, 2024. Yeah. So and we use this experience, and if you have scope 1 and 2 reporting, that's pretty easy. Yeah, that's almost nothing. It's just the turnover of energy. But scope 3 isn't that easy, which should be shown by the guy who doesn't really know how to do the scope 3 reporting. And without Creactives, it's highly complicated. And hopefully, Stefan, you and your tool, your great developers, your AI will help us to make it as easy as scope 1 and 2. So, what's the story?
Yeah, thank you very much. So let me try to take this forward and clarify a couple of things in the relationship also with another service provider that delivered the analysis of scope 3, but also giving a bit of an insight on what is Creactives doing, because our clients are really focusing different challenges. Scope 3 is just one. And the commonality of all these challenges is about data, which I think there's not much in the procurement world, this is not related at the end of the day on data or high level or high quality data. But here's a selection of use cases or challenges that they face with. And on the right-hand side, you more have the technical part of procurement, where we talk about incomplete and incorrect manufacturer name and code. So the solution or our technology is able to identify the original producer and supplier of materials or spend that the customer is sharing. Missing technical attributes to identify really comparable information, because in just a free text or a Maverick information does not give you a real comparable data set. And again, using the Scope 3 example or use case from Jürgen, it also does not allow you to identify the really original supplier, which you need for a Scope 3 analysis. On the left-hand side, again, two examples about the more, let's say, data-driven part, which is the lack of frame contract usage. So how often do our customer have frame contracts in place, but they do not link or not able to link the content and the agreement of the frame contract with purchase orders, with invoices and so on and so forth. And the other example really is the incorrect material group categorization, whether it's UNSPC or any other customer-driven one that allows you, let's say, at least to group and identify potential group of savings. That is a key deliverable. So you can choose whatever you want, and there's even more really to give a full picture. Coming back to the example of Creatives and Capgemini in the respect of Heraeus, our solution is agnostic, which means it doesn't matter where the data will be used for, whether it's Capgemini or any other solution in the ESG environment, or whether it is SAP or Oracle or whatever in the ERP environment, or spend analytics or whatever. But what we figured out is that utilizing the use case that Jürgen has shared, there's a significant number of these type of challenges, obviously, in the market, and most of the companies in Europe at least are challenged by this setup. So what we have done, we pulled together the benefits of a Capgemini solution, as I said, that can be replaced with any other, and our AI input that Jürgen explained, which together gives us really the possibility for a comprehensive solution that generates the benefit of much faster implementation. You remember that Jürgen talked about months, not years, and also a much more cost-effective one, because if you start with the solution and figuring out the data are not enough and then start the data cleansing, it's usually then a one-off one, because it has to be done very fast and in between. And secondly, the quality is not sustainable, and that's the second part. So bringing those two topics together is the intention, and we also looked into how this can be processed and have implemented an integrated solution that starts from the data from the client, cleansing, categorizing, enriching, let's say, improving the data to be ready for an ESG Scope 3 analysis, and then in this case, as a Capgemini solution to process them and report them. And we will present this solution also in the ProcureCon next week, or between the 23rd and 25th, so in 1.5 weeks, to underline really that benefit. So all in all, this is where we are and what we wanted to share with you. But I would like, before we looking into whether there are any other questions, Jürgen, if you can dive a bit deeper into the learnings, because I know from a Scope 3 experience, there's a lot of learning, and also from a data management part, there's a lot of learning. So I guess it would be interesting to get a bit more detail on what did you take away to help the participants to avoid doing the same. I wouldn't say errors, but at least experiences.
Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you. The first thing is it was essential to show everybody from the procurement department that there's a huge benefit. And whenever we had new employees here at Heraeus in the procurement department, I showed them the spend transparency. They said, hey, wow, that's something that I would like to have in my former company, because the transparency on the spend and on a centralized category structure, that's extremely helpful in strategic sourcing events. So, and when you understand that the tool is helpful, everybody is willing to improve the mapping. So they don't complain, hey, this invoice is not mapped correctly, but they say, if we map this invoice to the correct category structure, and I will help you to do that, and then next month we will have an improved reporting. So showing the benefit and helping the strategic sourcers to get the right numbers for their negotiations, that was the key to get a rapid improvement of the category mapping from Creatives. Because Creatives can only map what we tell them. So the truth always needs to come from the customer, from us, and the logic is then implemented in Creatives. That was the key learning, showing the benefit to the strategic sources.
Okay. There's another question coming in, which is more about the timelines. Maybe I caused that with my not years than months message. More about getting a bit deeper into how long did it really took. I know there was a phase before when you were still experiencing or experimenting with SAP only. But looking into from being clear what has to be started or what has to be done to delivering it. So once you brought the Creatives part into it.
Okay. So what we did is I started in January 2015, and I think Creatives came into the game in September 2015. And what we did is we discussed at that time what is the best category structure for Heraeus. So we uploaded the data, and then we defined an initial category structure to map the spend to the categories. And then we identified we have categories with extremely low spend, which doesn't make sense, and we had categories which a huge amount of spend. So we needed to distribute the spend in a logical way over the different categories, that it makes sense to have category leaders for a comparable amount of spend for the Heraeus group. So between September 2015 and February 2016, we were in a very intensive learning phase together with Creatives. Did always reload the data from the SAP systems month by month, and then mapped it to the new category structure, discussing with the category professionals at Heraeus to identify, is that correct? Does it make sense for Heraeus? So it was a very intensive half year, 6 months, but at the end, we had a category structure which we are still using today. And the way how we extract the data from SAP and from non-SAP systems is also something that we discussed with the IT to have it out of the ERP systems. Within a few minutes, we get the data download, we hand it over to Creatives, and then map it to the structure. So I think it's discussing it with those group of people who can help to improve the project in the beginning very intensively, and that makes the success of the solution that we have in place today.
Thank you. The other question that is still remaining here is on, let's say, size of data, size or KPIs that you're using. I don't know how much you want to share or can share them about how many lines of spend, how many categories and so on do you use to get a bit of a look and feel of the size of the problem.
So what we did is initially we loaded all the SAP invoice data into Creatives, and then we suddenly recognized it's such a huge amount it doesn't make sense. And then together with Creatives and the team, we decided to have a so-called consolidated invoice view. So not every line item that's available in SAP was uploaded to Creatives, but we consolidated on a level that makes sense for the procurement department. So what I showed you with the red button, it's an invoice, the total amount of the invoice, the mapping it to the category which has the most spent of this invoice, and then showing it to the procurement team. So this consolidation and to reduce the available number of information to an amount that makes sense and still has the full overview of spend data is really, we have millions of lines, but together with Creatives, we also decided to have just 6 years of spend in the system and archive everything that's older, to have it still available on an Excel base, but only to have 6 years full visibility of the spend of the Heraeus group, and ignore the older ones, because except the carbon footprint baselining in 2020, nobody is really looking on what we spent with the supplier in 2019.
And if it's really needed, we can upload it anyway. So yes, absolutely. 6 years in today's world is a lot.
That's right.
Okay, I think we're trying out with questions. When I'm looking to the chat. If there isn't anything else, I would like to thank everyone from my side to spend the time and getting some questions across to us. The webinar will be shared afterwards with all of you via link. Feel free to revisit that, and it will also be available on some of our social media channels to make sure that the information is available for foreseeable future. Jürgen, any famous last words from you?
Thank you for being there, really helpful, especially for mergers and acquisitions, because that's something that's always a showcase. You upload the data, and a few days later, you get a rough overview of what the company is spending and where could be the benefits for Heraeus or for the new company to get better prices from our suppliers.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jürgen, for your time and effort, and thank you very much to everyone. And have a successful day. See you soon, maybe in Vienna. Thank you. Bye-bye.